Welcome back, everybody. Today we have some bad news for you. Just trying to do a quick summary out there on what is commonly known as gunpocalypse in California. So, Governor Brown signed a bunch of new laws into law recently. For a while, they were all proposed, and people thought that there's no way this would ever go through. Well, a lot of them went through, and they are just simply atrocious violations of the Second Amendment and the Constitution. So, what we're going to do today is just try to give you a quick summary of them and then discuss some of them in a little bit more detail. So we'll go through them one by one. First up is the magazine ban. So any magazine that is deemed high capacity by the powers that be in California, those that would be over 10 rounds, which are the vast majority of modern magazines, whether they be pistol, rifle, or whatever the case may be, the vast majority of those produced today are over 10 rounds. So those will be deemed illegal. So in the past, they've sort of allocated or allowed, I should say, people to have a magazine block that sort of blocks it off, magazine repair kits that allow you to have this parts needed to assemble one, but you can't actually have it. Well, this one makes it a crime to actually own one of these magazines. So there's a date that it goes into effect if you don't surrender them to the state or get them out of the state, like i.e. give them to a friend or something like that. You will be made a criminal merely by the possession of something that has been legal throughout the history of this country. So that's one right there. Of course, there are exceptions to that. I believe the exceptions are gunsmiths, for whatever reason, and of course, law enforcement. So the men who will be coming to take your guns will be allowed to have these magazines, but you will not as a common citizen. Another one of the new laws that was signed in today prevents you from loaning a firearm to someone, whether it be a family member, friend, whatever the case may be. You cannot do that. So just doing that would be a crime. So simple act says, oh, I'm going on vacation for 30 days. I didn't want to leave any firearms unattended in my house, so I'm going to give them to my brother. You are now a criminal. Both of you are criminals. Clearly, this has no impact on crime whatsoever. There's no way this is going to help anyone stay safer. But what it will help you do is when the man comes knocking on your door and saying, oh, we see here that you have a AR-15, and you say, oh, no, I don't have it. It's not in my possession anymore. I loaned it, I sold it, or whatever the case may be. You can't do that because it just made you a criminal. So that's what it's there for. That's the only reasonable explanation I can see why someone would pass a law like this, because clearly it will not make anyone safer or less prone to threats of violence. The next law that was passed today and violates your constitutional rights is the ammunition database law. So essentially, there's obviously more details to it than this, but anybody who's over the age of 18 will be allowed to purchase ammo, provided a couple of things exist. Number one, that your name and info matches this little database thing they have so they can track it, and that you have permission from the California State Department of Justice, at least as I read it. So simply purchasing ammunition will become illegal. Now, this law hasn't gone into effect yet. We'll put the dates for all these below if I haven't done so already, that these go into effect, but it's signed law, so it just hasn't gone into effect yet. I mean, simply insanity. An ammunition database, a database that tracks people who buy ammunition. Like, think about that. How, again, would that keep you safe? Name me one mass shooting that happened in the last 30 years that this would have prevented by having a gigantic database that government employees track people in and monitor every purchase you make. I mean, it's simply absurd. Think these laws can't get any dumber? Well, think again. Now we have a portion of the laws that were passed that redefines what an assault weapon is. So any semi-automatic firearm that has a magazine that it can essentially be dropped without fully disassembling the firearm. So for instance, a good example would be some of the AR-15 variants in California that have the bullet button that you push in to take the magazine out. Those are now assault rifles and are banned. So you cannot purchase one. But it's not just AR-15s. The vast majority of semi-automatic firearms in America right now, I'd say upwards of 90% fall into this category. Now, I believe it excludes pistols with the exception of ones that have certain features like threaded barrels, and I'm sure there's a list of other features. So most of them, from what I understand, are okay, but again, probably 90% of rifles used, semi-automatic rifles used in America, are going to fall into this category and will be outright banned. Now, keep in mind, these are not assault rifles. The only assault rifle I know of to date is the Sturmgewehr, which is obviously named assault rifle in German. Other than that, these are normal rifles that people use every day for home defense, for hunting, for target shooting, for any number of legal and lawful purposes. The fact that this is banned is just insanity. So let's say you already have one of these and you're living in California. What do? Well, the law requires you by a certain date to register that firearm with the State Department of Justice. register your firearm with the State Department of Justice. Again, what is the outcome of any registration, right? It doesn't do anyone any good unless you're a police officer or a law enforcement agent who wants to seize firearms. Other than that, there is simply no reason for a registry. Before I go on, I want to point out that I am not an attorney. These laws have just been passed. There's a lot of scrutinizing that's going to go on over the next few days, few months, etc., on the legality of these things. So I urge you guys to go out there, do your own research, keep abreast of what's going on, keep abreast of these infringements that are happening in California, because, of course, many of you guys that live in states where your rights are being infringed upon every day, your politicians want to implement these changes as well and restrict your rights to self-defense. So definitely check that out. Check it out yourself. Keep abreast of the situation. So I want folks obviously to share this video with everyone, because to me, these things, if you told me this 10 years ago, I would have told you that would never happen in America. It's so un-American to infringe upon your rights like this. I mean, just imagine if they said you can't have a Facebook account unless you register it with the State Department of Justice, obviously exercising your freedom of speech. It's literally the same thing. There's no difference. It's the same restriction of your God-given rights, and it's happening, and people aren't batting an eye, which is just the craziest thing to me. So we need to obviously get the word out and then just continue to educate people, right? Because I'm sure some people who are watching this video who are new to firearms, or don't own firearms, or don't know much about firearms, are thinking, well, that doesn't sound so bad. That sounds reasonable. It's not, folks. If you don't own firearms and yet you think this is okay, and you're arguing that, oh, well, I don't own any firearms, so it's not going to affect me. That's like saying that when someone takes away the First Amendment, that you don't care because you don't have anything to say. That's nuts. All these things work together. All these God-given rights work together. So you need the First Amendment to have the Second Amendment, the Second Amendment to have the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment to have the Fifth Amendment, etc. All of these things are tied together to give us our rights, which have enabled us to become the greatest country in the world. When these rights are infringed upon, they're all attacked. So when you attack one, you're attacking all of them. So we need to get the word out and obviously let people know that this is happening first and foremost, so that way they can fight it. So on that note, what do you do, right? What if you live in California? What do you do? It's always so easy on the internet to tell someone, well, to get up and move, right? Well, it's not always that easy. If you have a job, family, medical issues, sometimes you can't move. So if you can move, I urge you to move. Get out of there. I mean, there's simply no reason to live in a state like that treats you like a serf to a king. That's just crazy. If you have to stay there, though, obviously fight it. Write your legislators. Go online. Look at who voted for this, who didn't vote for this. Check out who's donating to them. If they're a business, organize boycotts against them. We have to stand up to this. I mean, that's just one example. There's many ways we could fight this. But sitting around doing nothing about it is simply not going to win. I mean, I live in North Carolina. You guys know that these laws don't affect me currently, but it doesn't matter. We as a community of gun owners, and not just gun owners, Americans, need to fight this, because this is wholly un-American. So that's about it, guys. I'll get off my soapbox for now. But again, get the word out, because people don't know this is going on. People are going upon their daily lives and not thinking anything about it. But a core amendment, a core right in California was just stripped away from people. I mean, there's millions of people that live in California that just lost their rights. I mean, it's insane. It's a travesty. It shouldn't happen. And well, I guess you guys know where I stand on that. If you guys have any questions, by all means, post below in the comment section. Again, I'm not a legal expert, so I may not be able to answer all of them. If you are really up to date on this, check the comments and answer folks who really don't know as well. So just spread the knowledge, and we'll get it out there, and we'll try to defeat this here in California and anywhere else where people propose this. That's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you in the next video.